We've reached our final episode of our Vancouver Island series, and we're looking back on the past 8 weeks of adventuring, while also savoring our last few days here. Let's start from the beginning. In June, we hopped on a ferry from Washington to Vancouver Island with little expectations or knowledge of what sort of adventures we'd come to have here. What was going to be just a couple of weeks exploring quickly kept getting extended. We started in BC's capital city of Victoria and winded our way to Port Renfrew to say hello to Big Lonely Doug. If that was the only part of the trip, the memories would have lasted a lifetime. But, again, it was only the beginning. Just as her trip was coming to an end, Penelope got a cut on her leg that needed stitches and some recovery time. It was a bummer for all of us, but it did give Evan and I the opportunity to head up to the Mount Washington Bike Park for some laps.
I jump right in it here.
Speaking of jumping right in, one highlight of Vancouver Island for us was the Cowichan River. Or is it the Cowichan? I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but we got a pack raft this summer and the Cowichan was the perfect place to test our skills or lack of skills in rafting. A couple days of back-to-back rafting left us more excited than ever to take on new adventures. On our travels, we let our various outdoor activities lead the way, and this time the Cowichan River led us straight to a goldmine of mountain biking in the town of Duncan. Surrounded by 3 mountains, there was a lot of riding to be done here. Back to the bike park. Us Georgia kids had never heard of Mount Washington, so we didn't expect much, but we were immediately blown away by the view and the trails. Another point to Gryffindor. Rumor on the interwebs is you can't go to Vancouver Island without visiting Tofino. It's a vibrant surf town with endlessly long lines for tacos and ice cream. It reminds us a lot of Southeast Alaska, with most activities requiring a boat or float plane, besides the world-class surfing. It's beautiful here, but the only reason we would detour this way again would be to hike the beautiful Cobalt Lake Trail. This was one of the rootiest and steepest hikes we've done to date. Once we were out of the trees, we threw on our micro spikes and trudged through soft snow in mid-July. I may not be done telling our recap, but it's pretty incredible to be riding a bike park out here on Vancouver Island. Technically, we went to more than one island this trip, 3 to be precise. From Vancouver Island, we ferried to Denman Island and drove across to hop on another ferry to Hornby Island. Hornby is the Hawaii of Canada and the place we would buy a summer house if we were to ever win the lottery.
Fuck. Fuck. For the record, that was my last run of the day.
With Penelope in recovery, Mount Washington had the perfect solution for us to take turns on dog watch. They had a 2-hour pass option, and I took that as my opportunity to hit the slopes.
Oh, thank you.
I'm doing the 5:30 to 7:30 window of riding. Just 2 hours, but perfect for me to do a little bit of warm-up on downhill riding. I'm about halfway down Highway 19, which Evan told me to do my warm-up lap on. It's super long, very flowy, very rutted. My legs are on fire. Alright, this is the rest of Highway 19. I forgot to video the top. Fun. That was fun. And if you thought we had ridden just about every trail on Vancouver Island by now, well, you'd be wrong. British Columbia's passion for trails runs deep, and that includes tiny towns like Cumberland. That's the sound of a zip liner. Okay, I'm on the chairlift all by myself. Bad boy seats at least 4. What's nice about these kinds of bike parks is that they're way less popular. I mean, we're all the way out on Vancouver Island. There's already very few people out here to begin with. There are no lines. It's a lot more family friendly. Also, the kids that you see, the level of talent coming from 12-year-olds at these bike parks will put you in your place very quickly. All right, this is helter skelter. At least I think signage was a little confusing. There's a lot of routes. Oh, I could use a little break.
I know. Funny, eh?
I recognized the dog before I recognized the human. I was like, that dog looks familiar. Hey, don't jump on me, you're stitched. Stitched together like a Build-A-Bear. After the bike park, we settled in for our last night on the island.
There's a 1 sailing wait for the ferry.
Do you want to explain to the people what 1 sailing weight means?
Like, you have to wait for 1 sailing vessel, and then you should be able to get on the ferry.
The time has come to load onto the ferry and sail towards mainland BC. Lucky for us, it's a beautiful day today, and BC ferries are actually pretty nice. We spent the 2-hour ride hanging in the pet-friendly zone in the parking decks and soaking up the sun and snuggles before beginning the next leg of our adventures in Whistler and the Canadian Rockies. Vancouver Island was a dream we didn't know existed, and I promise we will be back.